The day before our wedding, Jason Jagger died in a car accident. 5 years later, I ran into him at a hotel, alive, breathing, smiling like nothing had ever happened. Apparently, he had lost his memory. And apparently, that meant he could shamelessly kiss my stepsister in front of a crowd, letting them cheer him on like some kind of movie star. Then he saw me. His smirk widened like he had just won some twisted game. So, you're my fiancé, huh? Still waiting for me after all these years? Damn, you really are something. Can't move on without me? He tilted his head, amusement flickering in his eyes. I know you're obsessed with me. Since you've been so loyal, I guess I could keep you around. But listen up, Yolanda is the only one who gets to be Mrs. Jagger. I'll spend Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays with her, and I'll see you on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. You can just be grateful in silence. The people around us laughed like it was the funniest thing they had ever heard. Could someone who had once loved me so deeply really change this much? Could amnesia turn him into this? I swallowed down the bitterness rising in my throat, took a deep breath, and forced a smile. Sorry, I said, my voice calm. I think you've got the wrong person. Then, without breaking eye contact, I lifted my hand, flashing the ring on my finger. Besides, I'm already married. For a second, the whole room went silent. Then laughter erupted, loud and mocking. Jason raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. Married? To who? A garbage man? A street sweeper? He scoffed. Come on, Whitney. Do you actually think I'd be jealous? Do you hear yourself? Before I could react, his hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. Then, with one quick pull, he yanked the ring right off my finger. I winced as Jason yanked the ring off my finger, the sting shooting up my wrist. I was about to say something, when Yolanda suddenly burst out laughing. Jason, isn't this the only love in this life ring? She grinned, eyes sparkling with amusement. The one your uncle bought in a Tessa for $600 million 5 years ago? She turned to me, tilting her head like she had just caught me in some elaborate lie. Whitney, don't tell me you're about to claim that you married his uncle and became his aunt? The second those words left her mouth, the entire room exploded into laughter. A guy picked up the ring, turning it between his fingers. Gotta say, it's a damn good fake. Must have cost a fortune. You really went all out trying to impress Jason, huh? More laughter, more taunts. The room felt suffocating. I exhaled slowly, keeping my voice steady. I didn't fake it. This ring is real. Before I could finish, a hand flew across my face. The slap was so sudden, so forceful, that my head snapped to the side. A sharp burning pain spread across my cheek, and for a second, my ears rang. What the hell is wrong with you? Jason's voice was full of rage, his jaw clenched tight. Why the fuck would you bring my uncle into this? His words were rapid, heated, filled with pure disgust. Everyone knows my uncle worships the ground his wife walks on. You really think he'd take one look at you? A used-up second-hand reject I didn't even want, and think, yeah, that's the one? He scoffed, shaking his head in disbelief. Even if you don't have a damn mirror, at least know your damn place, he sneered. I can't stand women like you, jealous, desperate, lying through your teeth just to get attention. His lip curled as he looked me up and down, like he couldn't believe he had ever been with me. I must have been fucking blind to ever want you. I pressed a hand to my burning cheek, slowly turning my head. My face stung, but I didn't react. I didn't cry, didn't flinch. Jason, however, looked away, just for a second, like he had seen something in my expression that made him uncomfortable. But Yolanda wasn't about to let it go. Whitney, she scoffed, crossing her arms. Jason lost his memory, and he's still willing to let you be his mistress. You should be grateful. But instead, you're trying to ruin him? Jason stood in front of her, throwing a thick stack of cash at my feet. Isn't this what you wanted? His voice was slow, mocking. Go ahead, pick it up. The edges of the bills were sharp, one of them catching my forehead as it fluttered down. A thin line of blood appeared just above my brow. I didn't wipe it away, but I did notice the flicker of hesitation in Jason's eyes. Then, as if realizing he had slipped, he covered it up with a smirk. I bent down. He let out a breath, laughing. There we go. Knew you'd cave. A dog should act like a dog. I ignored him. I wasn't reaching for the money. I was picking up the ring that had been thrown into the corner, half buried under the scattered cash. When I straightened, Jason's smirk was gone. His expression darkened, his fingers twitching at his sides. For the first time that night, he looked uneasy. Before I could step away, he grabbed my wrist, his grip tight and almost desperate. You really won't let it go, will you? His voice was low, his teeth clenched. What? The money on the floor isn't enough. You still need to hold on to a fake broken ring? I frowned, confused. Let go. He didn't. His grip only tightened. His jaw flexed like he was struggling to hold something back. You really don't get it, do you? His voice dropped, frustration bleeding into his tone. Fine. Yolanda and I are getting married in a week. My uncle's coming home that day too. Why don't you show up? He leaned in, his voice laced with something sharp. You can watch the wedding, and while you're at it, let my uncle see for himself what kind of pathetic, shameless garbage I threw away. When Yolanda heard the word wedding, her whole face lit up. She could barely hide her excitement. Whitney, what's wrong? She teased, tilting her head. You're not scared to come, are you? Afraid of getting exposed? I carefully put the ring away, not bothering to look at her as I replied, voice flat. All right, I'll go. Just don't regret it later. Then I walked out. I stopped just outside the door, lingering for a moment. Maybe I just needed a second to breathe. Maybe I was waiting to hear what they would say once they thought I was gone. Jason's friend sighed. Dude, you sure you didn't take it too far? I don't know. Something about Whitney seemed off. What if she actually got married? Jason let out a sharp laugh. Yeah, right. She's just putting on an act. His tone was full of confidence, like the thought of me moving on was so impossible that it wasn't even worth considering. She's just playing hard to get. Trust me, I know her. This is her way of trying to get my attention. But after a beat, he went quiet, probably thinking back to the way I had looked at him before I left, how calm I had been, how unbothered. Something about it must have unsettled him because when he spoke again, his voice had a slight edge. Whatever, he muttered. I'm done playing anyway. After the wedding, I'll get my memory back. Throw in some sad apologies. Tell her she's the only one I ever loved. Watch, she'll be back at my feet in no time. Yolanda pouted, resting her head on his shoulder. But Jason, if you get your memory back, what happens to me? Jason laughed, pinching her waist. Relax, it'll be the same as before. And besides, he smirked, sneaking around is way more fun. More laughter, more voices blending together in amusement. I didn't stick around to hear the rest. I turned and walked straight to the hotel entrance, my chest tight. The second I stepped outside, I took a deep breath, then another, trying to swallow the nausea creeping up my throat. Jason had no idea. 5 years ago, on the night he was supposedly killed in a car accident, I received a video, one I could never forget. I pulled out my phone, tapped the screen, and his voice filled my ears, light, amused, like he was talking about the weather. I love Whitney, but man, she's just so dull. The thought of only having her for the rest of my life? Boring as hell. I'll fake my death, disappear for a few years. When I come back, I'll say I lost my memory. Oh, and make sure you get plenty of footage of her losing it over me. I can't wait to see her completely fall apart. The day the doctor announced Jason's death, I did exactly what he would have wanted. I shattered. The weight of it was so suffocating that I couldn't even cry. It was like the whole world had collapsed, and for a moment, I actually thought about going with him. From that day on, Jason might have pretended to be dead, but to me, he was already gone. A week later, the wedding happened as planned. I had no intention of going, but my daughter, stubborn as ever, wouldn't stop pestering me about it. By the time we arrived at the hotel, the ceremony had already reached the ring exchange. Jason kept glancing at the entrance, brows slightly furrowed, like he was waiting for something. Then his eyes landed on me. Immediately, his expression relaxed. A smirk played on his lips, and when the MC asked if he would take Yolanda as his wife, he hesitated. Just long enough to be noticed. Just long enough to make Yolanda's fingers tighten around her bouquet. But whatever reaction he was expecting from me, he didn't get it. Because I wasn't watching. I was off to the side, calmly eating cake, like none of this had anything to do with me. And that pissed him off. His jaw tightened, his shoulders stiffening. The warmth in his expression disappeared in an instant. Then, out of nowhere, someone shoved me hard. I had no time to react before I crashed into the drinks table beside me. Glass shattered. The champagne tower, taller than me, collapsed, sending a wave of alcohol and glass shards raining down. Pain shot through my forehead as my head hit the floor. Blood trickled down my face, blurring my vision. But through the haze, I swore I saw Jason flinch. For half a second, he moved, like he was about to step toward me. But before he could, Yolanda rushed past him. She dropped to her knees, grabbing my arm in a death grip, tears already spilling down her face. "Whitney," she cried, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "I invited you to my wedding out of kindness, and this is how you repay me? I know you're jealous that Jason only loves me now, but why? Why ruin my happiness? Can't you stand to see me living a good life?" Yolanda's grip was brutal, her nails digging so deep into my skin that a dull numbness spread up my arm. I clenched my jaw, trying to stay calm, but the sharp sting made my scalp prickle. On instinct, I lifted my hands, just to push her off, and the second I did, she screamed, loud, over the top, completely fake. Then, like she had been thrown by some invisible force, she flung herself backward, crashing onto the floor, with all the grace of a third-rate actress. I barely had time to react, before something slammed into my back. The force sent me stumbling, my ankle twisting painfully in my heels. A sharp gasp left my lips as the pain shot up my leg, but before I could even regain my balance, a furious voice cut through the air. "Jason, are you serious?" He was practically seething, his eyes burning with rage. "What the hell is wrong with you? I don't even remember you, and yet you still can't stop throwing yourself at me." His words were laced with disgust. "I have never seen a woman as shameless as you," he sneered. "Apologize, now." For a moment, everything was silent. Then the whispers started. I didn't flinch. I let them talk. But Yolanda? She lived for it. She curled into Jason's arms, clinging to him like some helpless victim. Then, just loud enough for everyone to hear, she let out a shaky gasp and pointed at my hand, her eyes wide with mock horror. "Whitney." She sounded devastated, but there was a glint of triumph in her eyes. "I told you Uncle Colton would be here today, and yet you still dared to bring that fake only love in this life ring?" She paused for effect, then widened her eyes even more, like she had just realized something horrifying. "Wait, could it be?" She pressed a hand to her mouth, gasping. "You say you love Jason, but deep down, you're actually trying to seduce his uncle?" Jason's expression darkened, the arrogance in his face flickering ever so slightly. Yolanda leaned into him, voice soft, full of fake concern. "Jason, there are so many people watching," she murmured, pressing a hand to his chest. "Before Uncle Colton finds out, we should handle this quietly." Jason hesitated for about 2 seconds. Then without a word, he reached for a knife from the table. My stomach dropped. I stepped back, but his friends were already closing in, blocking every possible way out. Panic shot through me, as strong hands grabbed my arms, pinning me down. I struggled, my breathing sharp and uneven. "Let go!" I shouted, voice raw. "My husband is Colton." The whole room went dead silent. Then, laughter, mocking, cruel, loud. Jason squatted down, his face full of amusement, like I had just told the funniest joke in the world. The knife gleamed under the light as Jason raised it again. I braced myself, and then, the ballroom doors slammed open. The entire room went still. The once lively mocking atmosphere instantly turned ice cold. Colton Jagger walked in, his presence sucking all the air from the room.